Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to jump into something different. Today we're going to dig into the Dallas method.
The Dallas method.
Yep. And before you picture us in cowboy hats, hold on. This isn't about rodeos or honky tonks.
Unless those are good for sales. I'm all ears.
Well, maybe there's a metaphor in there somewhere. But seriously, we're talking about Southern charm meeting serious business smarts.
Okay, now that's intriguing, I gotta admit.
Right. We found these awesome snippets from the Branch Hub Sales Insights podcast, all about how this Dallas method is actually making waves, especially when it comes to businesses working with each other, B2B across different countries.
International deals, that's where things get tricky. Cultures clash, communication styles.
Exactly. But that's what makes this so interesting. Stick with us, even if you're not in sales, because I think there are some nuggets of wisdom here for anyone, really.
I'm hooked already. So what's the secret sauce? Is it all just sweet tea and hospitality, or is there more to it?
Well, that's what we're going to find out. What do you say we kick things off by figuring out what exactly this Dallas method is?
It's funny, isn't it? You hear Dallas method, and you might think it's all about surface-level charm, laying it on thick.
Right, like some kind of cheesy sales tactic.
But what's got me fascinated is that there's actually some serious research backing this up. Southern Methodist University, they've been digging into this, and they've broken it down into 4 core principles.
Okay, so it's not just about slapping on a Stetson and drawing "Howdy, partner." Give us the goods. What are these principles?
Well, first off, they found that it's all about focusing on building real, authentic relationships before you even think about making a sale.
Hold on, I gotta jump in here. They're spending 40% more time just on relationships, and that's leading to 63% higher conversion rates. I mean, I know connections matter, but how does that actually work?
Think about it when someone feels like you genuinely get them, like you're not just trying to sell them something. Their defenses drop. They're more open, more trusting.
So it's like you're disarming them with genuine interest. You're on the same side.
Exactly. And in business, especially when you're dealing with big decisions, trust is gold. You invest that time up front, it pays off big time down the line.
That makes total sense. It's like human psychology 101. We do business with people we like and trust. But okay, what about the other principles?
So another big one is storytelling. Now, data, numbers, that stuff matters. But stories, they hit us differently.
It's like numbers make you think, but stories make you feel.
You got it. They tap into our emotions, our values, what we connect with as human beings. And that makes them stick.
So instead of just throwing stats at someone, you're painting a picture they can relate to. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got? Respect, right? That one seems kind of obvious.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised how often it gets overlooked, especially in those high-powered, hierarchical business settings.
So it's not just about being nice to the bigwigs, but everyone.
Exactly. From the receptionist to the CEO, everyone gets treated with dignity and respect.
So it's more than just good manners. It's like building a culture of respect within the whole company. And I bet that translates to happier employees, better work overall.
Right. Spot on. And those businesses prioritizing relationships, they're seeing 27% more repeat business, according to the Dallas Fed. So yeah, treat people right. It's not just a nice idea, it's good business.
But hold on a sec. All this friendly, chummy stuff, does that even work when you're dealing with different cultures? I mean, what flies in Dallas might flop in Frankfurt, right?
Now, that's where it gets really interesting because the Dallas method isn't about turning the whole world into Texas. It's about taking those core principles and adapting them to fit different ways of doing things.
Got it. So it's not one size fits all. Like, how would you tailor this for Europe? McKinsey research says adapting this gets 42% higher meeting acceptance rates. But what's that look like in real life?
Well, let's take Spain, for example. They're already big on relationships in business, so that part aligns well. Storytelling works great, but you got to be a bit more concise, not as much rambling as a Texan barbecue. And titles matter over there, showing respect for hierarchy.
So shorter stories, straight to the point, but still with that warmth. Okay, I can see that. But what about, say, Northern Europe? Aren't they all about efficiency, less touchy-feely?
True. So there you got to find a balance. Relationship building still key, but you got to be direct too. Back up your stories with hard data, keep it warm but professional.
Okay, so it's like tailor the approach but keep the heart of it the same. Makes sense. But honestly, does any of this work with cold calls? I mean, most people just hang up the second they hear a sales pitch.
You'd be surprised. The Texas Business Leadership Council, they've been looking into this, and even with cold calls, that human connection can make a huge difference.
All right, I gotta know, how do you make a cold call less?
Wow, cold. One trick, is what they call the generous introduction. Instead of diving right into your spiel, you lead with something valuable for the person you're calling.
So instead of asking for something, you're offering something first. Like what? Give me an example.
Could be market insights, a link to an article, even just a genuine connection you've noticed between your companies. Something that shows you're not just blindly dialing.
So you're sparking their interest, making them want to hear more. I like it. What else?
Then there's the connection bridge, finding real links between your organization and theirs. Shared clients, similar values, even common challenges. Shows if you've done your homework.
Instead of generic flattery, you're finding real common ground. Clever. But then how do you go from that to actually asking for a meeting without sounding pushy?
That's where the hospitality signal comes in. It's all about using language that makes the other person feel in control.
Like what kind of phrasing are we talking here?
Things like, I want to be respectful of your time, or what works best for you. Subtle, but it shifts the power dynamic.
I can see that, takes the pressure off, makes them more open to chatting. Okay, but how do you finally, seal the deal?
That's the reciprocity clause. You frame the meeting as a win-win, not just you asking for their time, but both sides getting something out of it.
So it's about mutual benefit, not just what you can get. Smart. Does this stuff actually work, though, like numbers-wise?
Oh, yeah. PwC's data shows using these techniques can bump up that conversion rate from cold call to meeting by a whopping 38%.
That's huge. So basically, bringing a little Southern hospitality to your cold calls can actually work wonders. Who knew?
It's funny, right? We think of sales as this cutthroat thing, but the Dallas method shows that kindness and authenticity can be seriously powerful tools.
Yeah, it's like a reminder that you don't have to be a jerk to succeed in business. But it also makes me think, if this works in sales, which is tough, where else could we apply this?
Now, that's a great question, and one we'll dive into as we continue exploring the Dallas method.
I have a feeling we've only just scratched the surface here.
You got that right. Stick around. It's about to get even more interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind of mind-blowing, isn't it? Like, we're so used to this idea that to make it in business, you got to be ruthless. Like, it's a jungle out there.
Totally. Be aggressive, close the deal no matter what. It's like we're told you can't be nice and successful.
But the Dallas method flips that on its head. It's like, hold on, you can be a good person and get ahead. Empathy, being real, those are strengths, not weaknesses.
It's almost like a rebellion against that whole always be closing thing, but in a quiet, sneaky kind of way.
And it's really resonating with people. Think about it. Everything feels so transactional these days, right? So when you encounter genuine connection, even in business, it stands out.
Yeah, people can spot a fake from a mile away. It's like we've got a built-in BS detector.
Exactly. And the Dallas method gets that. It's saying emotional intelligence, understanding people, that's just as important as knowing your product or whatever.
Okay, so we've talked about the principles, how to adapt them to different cultures, even cold calls. But what does this actually look like in action? Can you give us like a real-world example?
Sure. Let's say you're a tech startup trying to land a big client in, I don't know, Berlin. Instead of bombarding them with tech jargon and features, you start by getting to know them.
Their company culture, what they're trying to achieve, their pain points, all that.
Yep. You're not just trying to sell them something, you're trying to figure out how your product can actually help them solve their specific problems.
So you're positioning yourself as a partner, not just some random vendor, someone who's invested in their success.
That's it. And when you come at it from that angle, it changes the whole dynamic.
It's not about just closing the deal. It's about creating something that benefits both sides. But is there ever a time when being too nice can backfire? Like, do people ever take advantage of that?
That's a good point, and it's important to remember that being kind doesn't mean being a pushover. You can be kind and set boundaries,
So it's finding that balance. Being assertive when you need to be, but always coming from a place of goodwill. But I'm curious, with all the tech changing how business works, how do you think this approach will adapt?
Ooh, that's a big question. It's easy to think with all the automation and AI and whatnot, human connection matters less.
Right.
But I think the opposite is true.
Yeah, like in a world that's getting more and more digital, that real human interaction becomes even more valuable.
Exactly. And that's where the Dallas method really shines.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that at the end of the day, business is about people. It's about those relationships, that trust, creating value for each other.
It's like a timeless approach that's even more relevant now. It's not about tricks or manipulation. It's about actually caring.
And that's what makes it so powerful. It taps into something deep in us that need to connect to build something meaningful.
So what does this all mean for everyone listening? How can they take this Dallas method and use it in their own lives? Not just work, but relationships, their community, anything.
It all starts with that mindset shift, realizing that being kind isn't weak, it's actually a strength. Coming at every interaction, wanting to understand the other person, creating something positive for both of you.
Being intentional, really listening, showing gratitude, looking for ways to make someone's day a little better.
And being genuine. People can sniff out a phony a mile away. This isn't about putting on an act, it's about being the best version of yourself.
I love that. Be your best self. So simple, but it really gets to the heart of the Dallas method, doesn't it?
It's about realizing success isn't just about what you achieve, but how you get there. Building a life, a career that reflects your values and making a positive impact.
So as we wrap up this part of our Dallas method deep dive, what really stands out to you listening? What's resonating?
What's one thing you could try doing differently? Applying one of these principles, even in a small way.
Think about a situation at work, with friends, family, where you could bring a little more of that Dallas method approach.
Remember, it doesn't have to be huge. It could be as simple as a thank you note, a sincere compliment, really listening to someone when they're talking.
These little things add up.
They really do, like a ripple effect.
And hey, maybe you'll even convert a few skeptics along the way, right?
Once you see how powerful this can be, it's hard not to share it.
So there you have it. Southern charm meets business smarts. And it turns out being kind, it's not just good manners, it's a brilliant strategy.
And it's a strategy we can all use, no matter where we are or what we do.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Dallas method. Hope you're walking away with some good insights and maybe even a little inspiration to bring some of that Southern hospitality to your world.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep connecting.
And remember, a little kindness goes a long way. You know, it's funny, when I first heard Dallas method, I had this image of like 10-gallon hats and giant belt buckles.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
Maybe a little too much, plus your heart going on.
Stereotypes, right.
Exactly. But digging into this, what's really hit me is that the power is in the small stuff, things we might not even think about.
It's not about some big, showy display of hospitality.
Right.
It's the tiny, genuine things that make people feel like, hey, you matter.
Like remembering their name, asking about their family, really listening when they talk.
Exactly. It's like you value them as a person, not just a number on a spreadsheet.
And that makes me think this Dallas method isn't just for business, it's kind of for life, you know?
It's about how we treat each other, period. Every interaction.
Yeah, like why not bring that generosity and kindness to everything, whether it's a big deal or just grabbing coffee with a friend.
Totally.
I gotta admit, though, part of me is still like, can something this simple really be that effective?
I think that's why it works. Because it's so simple, those little things often get overlooked.
They make a big difference.
They really do.
Yeah.
They make people feel good, and that changes how they see you.
It's like a ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
One act of kindness to another.
And pretty soon, you got a whole culture of that. Kindness and respect. Everyone benefits.
So as we wrap this up, what's standing out to you listening? What's sticking with you about this whole approach?
Think about your own life. What's one interaction where you could try this out, even just a little bit?
Maybe at work, with a coworker, or in a personal relationship where you could show more of that Dallas method way of being.
Doesn't have to be huge, just a conscious effort to be a little kinder, a little more genuine.
Exactly. And hey, maybe you'll even win over some skeptics along the way.
Because once you experience it, it's hard not to want to share it.
So there you have it. Southern charm meets business smarts, and turns out, kindness. Not just good manners, it's actually a really smart strategy.
And one we can all benefit from, no matter who we are or what we do.
Thanks for being with us on this Dallas Method deep dive. We hope you got some good stuff out of it, and maybe even some inspiration to bring a little Southern hospitality to your own world.
Keep exploring, keep learning, keep connecting, y'all.
And remember, a little kindness can go a long, long way.